Awesome. Thanks, Dustin. I'm just as excited, just as excited as you are for today's event. Goodness, we have so much to cover, so many wonderful speakers, and I'm just really excited to be able to announce the keynote speaker for the day. Um, One of the first tools that I learned in my data career was Tableau. And as I started getting more involved in the data community, I started hearing Eva Murray's name. She's an experienced data professional with over 13 years of experience helping organizations make the most of data and technology solutions. She's worked across the spectrum of consulting, industry, and vendor organizations, focusing on data analysis and visualization, as well as data platforms. So pretty much everything that you could possibly need to have a wonderful career in the data space. Eva's done it. As a career coach, Eva enables people to find a clear direction and create a career that excites them and allows them to use their talents at work every day. So she seems like the perfect person to give the keynote address for today's event. I'm incredibly honored and excited to be able to have her with us today. Welcome, Eva.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you. Thank you, Brandy. Thank you, Dustin, for having me. And hello, everyone out there on the internet who's watching live or later on demand. I'm really pleased. And before I dive into the presentation and keynote, a couple of things before I forget. So first one, I love, Dustin, your call out about people connecting with each other. And I do want to second that and say, make sure you connect. I see that people are putting, their name, where they're from, what they're doing, or what they're looking for. That is great. If you want to also add your LinkedIn profile so that people can find you there easily as well. And Dustin mentioned, post about the learnings, the things you take away from today's summit. This could be your first ever LinkedIn post. You could talk about this later today, over the weekend, maybe next week. What are 3 things that you learned today that you want to focus on in the coming days, weeks, and months that you want to implement in your career, whatever that might be? Or maybe just 3 things you found really interesting that you just didn't know about the world of data and data careers. So that is my challenge to you. Take 3 things and turn them into a LinkedIn post. And with that, I'm going to get over to my keynote. What you can expect from me today is a couple of stories and then also some practical tips on how you can take what I tell you to figure out what's your career path. What do you want it to be like? And I do want you to grab a piece of paper and a pen. We're going to use it a little bit later. In addition, so you don't have to take notes. The piece of paper and the pen are for a little exercise that we're going to do. And I have a freebie that Brandy will later on put the link in the comments for you to check out. And that is to figure out your career path. I have put together a free ebook that you can download and that you can use. So today's exercises that we're going to do as part of this keynote, they're going to kick you off so that you have a starting point. And then over the coming days, you can go deeper using the ebook, using the questions and prompts that are in there to find some new ideas, to maybe reflect a bit more and find out some new things about yourself, or some stuff that maybe was always in the back of your mind. You just couldn't put your finger on. So we will get into that. But let me first start with a couple of stories. So the theme of this event is Make Your Mark. And I want to talk about a few people who have made their mark. 3 different career transformations. The first one is a life-changing relocation, where this person, who is part of the community that I am in as well, she took the opportunity to build her profile in Tableau, using Tableau Public. So she built a number of visualizations over the course of a year or 2. She built her skills. She developed a portfolio of different visualizations to show her design skills, her analytical skills, how she tackled different topics of analysis, and how she would then communicate that information. And it actually caught the eye of a recruiter, and that helped her to move halfway across the world and start a completely new phase in her life, in a new country, surrounded by new people, in a new area of work. And to me, I'm getting goosebumps right now because she shared that story with me and how influential it was being part of the community and learning from other people, building her portfolio to have that foot in the door and to have that virtual business card of these are my skills. It's not just down to a CV, it's also demonstrating what you're capable of and who you are as a person, because it all is reflected in your portfolio as you build visualizations or you publish code or you talk about projects that you've done or you publish YouTube videos, whatever floats your boat. And this story is really close to my heart because she really grabbed this opportunity and went for a complete change and has made a life for herself in another country on the other side of the world. Another story is of another community member who came into the community, who started. A lot of you have probably heard of the Project Makeover Monday that Andy Kriebel and I used to co-host. And this person, so she joined that project, and she was somebody who showed up every week, who worked on a data set every week to build visualizations, to learn. And what was really, really interesting about her is that we started to see a unique style emerging where, without knowing who built the visualization, we knew who built the visualization because it had her trademark on it. Just her style was very unique and very recognizable. And I loved seeing that because some people went for very, technical, complex calculations, and that's great. They really focused on building those skills. Other people went for design. Other people went for storytelling or for trying different chart types, different formats, different approaches. And when you see that, when you see somebody taking this opportunity of a community project like Makeover Monday and many others to foster their career, to build their skills, to get started and see what happens, and after a year have 52 different visualizations that can show others what they're capable of, that really warms my heart. And the final story is a person who did something very different, and he is somebody who is so good at not just mind bending, but brain explosion, mind boggling mathematics that flow into the calculations, that create visualizations and solutions where I'm like, I couldn't even think of this, let alone figure out how to do it. It's another level. And this is what he is known for. And this is what he pursues relentlessly. And he's passionate about it. And he comes up with new solutions all the time. And that's what people learn from him. So I hope this gives you a little bit of a flavor that there's not just one path. There are many different ways. And these are just 3 examples. Somebody who changed their career and literally their life by moving to another country and starting fresh there. Somebody else who said, I'm going to focus on design because I really like the visual element. And somebody who really likes building the visualizations, but does it from a very mathematical point of view and seeing just how far can I push this tool? What can I make happen? What is possible? So what do these people have in common is that they found their niche. They put in a lot of work to create some exciting opportunities for themselves. It's not that they were handed things on a silver platter. I don't think anyone really is. It's by doing these things, by putting yourself out there, by sharpening your skills, by taking a bit of a risk and saying, I'm going to go all in and I'm going to spend, let's say, maybe it's a few hours a week that I normally would have to maybe read or go to the movies. I'm going to spend this time on learning this for the next few months and see what happens. And they put that work in. And as a result, they had exciting opportunities. Some people find new jobs. Other people are more visible in the community. They might get recognition from Tableau or other vendors, depending on what tools they use. And now, as a result, they're known for something, and they can continue to leverage that reputation for themselves. And when I look at my own career journey, that's also been what I think has been just transformational for me. Taking a path, making it visible and showing up again and again as me with all my faults and flaws, but also being really authentic. And, what you see is what you get. This is how I show up, but building a reputation for what I can help with, what I can do. And if somebody's interested in that, then I can help them with that. And similarly, these people and many others like them have created a reputation and visibility for themselves that helps them for their career path for the long term. And I know other people will mention this in some of the talks that you will hear after mine, that over time, the goal could be, it doesn't have to be, but it could be that once you get into this career, right? Maybe you're at the beginning, maybe you're looking for your first job or your second or third. But as you build this reputation, it should precede you so that hopefully you don't have to apply for jobs eventually. You just have conversations. The last time I applied for a job formally through a portal, I don't think it was LinkedIn, it was something else. It was in 2013. And after that, it was networking and conversations, talking to somebody, and eventually it's like, oh, actually, are you hiring? There is still obviously interviews and things, but the formal application process that can be sometimes soul destroying, let's be honest, you can circumvent that by creating the visibility for yourself so that people don't have to wonder who you are in this mass of people. Okay, so your niche. What is your niche? What is a niche? I see it as an intersection of 6 different areas. One is your knowledge, and this is literally the stuff that's in your head, and you all have it. Even if you have just finished university, you don't have any practical experience yet, you have knowledge, you've learned a bunch of stuff, right? There's your experience, and it doesn't have to be purely data analytical experience. It could be experience working in a restaurant, in a hotel, working in a shop. Anything that you've done in the past is part of your experience and makes you who you are. Then your skills, the things you're capable of. Those could be technical skills. It could be other things like musical skills. Maybe it's video editing. There's a bunch of stuff that can count towards this. And then your expertise. Maybe you have a professional qualification. Maybe you are a chartered accountant or something else. Your ideas, the stuff that you come up with, like the person I mentioned earlier who has these like crazy advanced mathematical calculations that he knows how to then put into something technical and Tableau. And then your interest, the stuff that lights you up, and the things where like, I really want to mesh all of these together. And that intersection of all of these 6 areas, as abstract as it might sound right now, that is what you can build into your niche. And it's unique to you. So one example I have is somebody who's maybe specialized in healthcare analytics, who has a background teaching English as a second language in South America. Maybe they did this a few years ago. They also have strong skills in Tableau, Figma, and Python. And maybe in their spare time, they're part of a theater group. And at work, they've worked for a healthcare provider and for a consulting company over the course of 6 years in total. Now, that sounds, like a bunch of very different things. But what does that mean for this person as a professional? What do they bring? They bring strong technical skills. I mentioned those. They can be maybe even measurable. Industry knowledge, healthcare industry. They have experience working for a provider, so it could be a hospital, for example, as well as a consulting company. So they've seen things from different perspectives. They've seen the business challenges and how they can be addressed through analytics. But also they have experience as a consultant working maybe with different healthcare providers in the industry and helping them solve their business problems. And then finally, their background in teaching and theater, that probably gives them really strong communication and presentation skills. So while all of those things might not immediately look like they're connected, when you really think about it, that stuff matters. And the things you do in your spare time, even if they're completely separate from work, they all help you shape who you are and they influence you as a professional. And please don't underestimate yourself in those areas and don't disregard the value you can bring through the things you do as a hobby on the side. So how can you find your niche? And this is where we're going to do a little bit of a practical exercise. The first question I want to just put out there is, I clicked too hard on my keyboard. Why does it matter? Why does it matter having a professional niche? Well, you don't have to worry about it. You can continue whatever path you're on and not really focus. But some people want to specialize. And the people I've worked with as coaching clients, a lot of the time, what they say is, well, I've done a bit of work now. I've worked for maybe 5 years. I'm at a point where I want a bit of a change, but I don't quite know what direction to pick because I don't want it to be another change in a year or two. I want this to be the next longer phase of my career. So maybe they are individual contributors, so maybe a data analyst or a data engineer, and they want to specialize and become very senior in those technical roles. But they don't necessarily want to manage people, and that's fine. We can figure out how they can shape a niche that lets them be a senior technical person. Or they want to actually manage people. They say, my next step is that I want to be responsible for a team. I want to lead others. I want to empower the next generation of data analysts as a leader. So when you think about your professional niche, you can put your flag in the ground, so to speak. You can say, this is who I am, this is what I do, and this is what I contribute. This is the impact I can have. And what I like about having a specialization, a focus area, is you can really focus all that energy you have on becoming really, really good at this one thing. And you can create a lot more exciting, well, more opportunities, but also more exciting opportunities for yourself by having a niche than by being a generalist. Because as a generalist, you have to really cover a lot of areas. At least in my perspective and my experience, you have to stay up to date and sharper on different technologies and frameworks and methodologies all at the same time. Now, that might be less risky because if one area doesn't work out, you can move to another one. But by having a niche, you can say, I'm going to go all in on that. And typically, I would say, what I've seen is that people in our industry who are technically minded, who can communicate well, who are also nice to work with, they will find work even outside of their niche because a lot of things are adjacent. And what I mean by that, very briefly, before we move to the next question, is let's say you go all in on Tableau. And one day, poof, Tableau disappears into thin air. You can probably quite easily move to another tool like it or the next generation of tools because you know how to write calculations. You know what matters in visualizations. You understand best practices. You understand how interactive dashboards work. So a lot of those kind of things are transferable skills, even if you had specialized in Tableau. So even when we talk about a niche, I wouldn't be worried about being such a specialist that you can't then find work anywhere else. So that just to get that out of the way. So is this process that I'm about to tell you, is this going to work for you? Yes, you can use this process. And I promise that by going through the questions we're doing today and the ones that are in my ebook, you will figure out something for yourself. You will probably recognize things where like, oh, I hadn't really thought of that. I didn't realize this was a valuable skill. You will get value out of it. You might not immediately be like, oh, this is my niche and this is my one-liner that I'm going to use as an elevator pitch. But you will get value out of it. And as you put more and more thought into the process, you'll get more and more out of it. I'm a big believer in reflection, and whether you sit on a bench and look out onto a lake or you sit in your living room and look at a blank wall, it doesn't really matter. But giving yourself time to reflect and to not be distracted and to just think, actually, I'm going to take a pause here and I'm going to really think about these questions and write down everything that comes to mind, uninterrupted, undisturbed. Yeah, you will get some value from that. And I would say give yourself chunks of time, especially if you have commitments to other people like family members or pets who will not let you work on this for 4 hours straight. You might need to do 15 minutes here and there, but yeah, let's get into it. So the process, like I said, there is an ebook that goes with it. So I couldn't keep track of all the comments. So if Brandy hasn't posted the link, then she will share it now, or she might post it again. But this is where you can, by just signing up to my newsletter, you can then click download and you will get the PDF. And we're going to start the process now. So grab your piece of paper and a pen if you want to participate. You can also type it. I just like the tactile experience of writing by hand. And we're going to first start by looking at this list of questions of you as a data professional. Over the course of the next few days, you can add a bunch more details onto those questions as you go back to them. Think about what are some of your best skills in your daily work over the course of a week or a month, especially if you are in a team like finance where there's a month close or a quarterly close process. What are the things you do that you're really good at? What are the things that people come to you for when they need help, when they have questions? What are some of those things? Maybe scribble those down. What are some of the tools you use? It could be software, it could be platforms, different solutions that you interact with every day, where you're like, okay, some of these you might be an expert at, some of these you may have just started using, or you're comfortable navigating around, but you can recognize that there's a lot more value that you don't know about yet. So maybe you've explored 20% of the capabilities, but there's a lot more that you can make use of. And then what's your business expertise? So what industries have you worked in? What kind of organizations, are you experienced in? Like I mentioned earlier, are you experienced in healthcare or retail or finance or insurance, maybe transport, logistics? There are so many different industries. What have you worked in? And it doesn't have to be purely, full-time professional roles. It could also be what you did as a part-time job during university or beforehand. What are some of the things that you've dealt with? Because even in my time as a 15-year-old in a shoe shop selling shoes, I would have been exposed to things like, okay, we have deliveries and we have orders and we have returns. Sure, at a very basic level, and I don't remember much of it, but I have heard those terms. So just write all of those things down. And then who's in your network? So who are some of the people that you're surrounded by, that you can draw on as a professional, that you can ask for help and be inspired by? And we're going to do this, by the way, pretty quickly, because I want to leave a couple of minutes for Q&A as well. We're looking at your technical skills, and I know that a lot of you will be very excited about that, because all of us, at the end of the day, we're a bunch of nerds, right? We love technical stuff, we love software, we love tools and things like that. So thinking about what technical things are you really good at? Is it specific programming languages? Is it specific, like I mentioned earlier, software? Is it processes or frameworks that you've been exposed to? Is it a methodology? Is it project management? All those kind of things. What kind of projects have you completed? It could be a huge a digital transformation in a huge organization. It could be a very specific data migration project, any of those. If a company hires you, what would you say are the 3 key benefits they're going to gain by having you join their team? And then what are some of the things that you've done that had a real impact? And it doesn't all have to be technical or expressed in dollars. It could be, hey, I introduced that we do a 10-minute quiz every Friday morning, and it's become a real team event, and we've grown closer as a team. All of that is impact. So have a think about those. Is there a way to objectively evaluate your technical skills? And this could be certifications, it could be your portfolio, where somebody can look at your progression over the past and how you've grown as a technical professional. And then knowledge sharing. I've put this in there because I think it's also a great measure of your skills. What can you teach others? When you think about it, what is a topic you would love to talk to others about and help them learn and help them figure out? And do you have any examples of that? Maybe you're publishing articles, maybe you're publishing things on GitHub, maybe you've done a presentation in the past, or you've developed some sort of gamified tool that helps people learn. And if not, how could you create some of those opportunities for yourself? And this is the easy bit. You literally just talk about it on the internet, right? There are so many places now where you can share your knowledge. Okay, there's plenty more we could talk about on this topic, but we're going to move on because I want you, for all the different areas that you'll find in the ebook, to have a starting point so you can then do a deep dive by yourself. What's your ideal working day? And maybe you say Sunday because I don't really want to work. But when you think about working, how can you do your best work? How do you start the day? This is, again, where you can do scribble down some notes. Really visualize this. How do you want to start your day? Maybe it's, I want to get up at 5 a.m. and go for a run in the forest. Or actually, I want to sleep in because I'm more of a late night person and I'd rather work late into the evening. Okay, maybe you get up at 9 o'clock and you're at your desk at 10:30, and in between you have a nice leisurely breakfast, and that's great. What's the first thing you do in the morning? And when you start working, your actual work, opening your laptop or getting up at the whiteboard, what's the first task that you tackle? What's the stuff that excites you as you start your workday? And who do you connect with? Is it your teammates? Is it some experts out there in the community? Who is it that you want to talk to? And how much of your time and energy do you want to spend on the really important projects and tasks that you have to do, but also the ones you want to do? And then how do you finish your workday? Do you have maybe you got a meeting to close out the day, or do you have a ritual that you want to do at the end? And what comes afterwards? Is it family? Is it friends? Is it hobbies? Is it going out for a nice meal? Visualizing this helps you figure out what are some of the things that are important to you, so that when you look for a job, sure, you might not get it, but it's good to know what you want so that you can say, these are my non-negotiables, these things are negotiable, and somewhere in between there, I will figure things out for myself. And one more quick detour before I try and close this out is, I think that in every role, there's room to create more in that role. You have the job description, but there's always going to be tasks and responsibilities that are outside of that job description. And maybe that's how you can cover some of the things that you would ideally like to have in a job. And then finally, as a last question area is, what does your ideal working environment look like? And this could be an office, this could be working at home, working in a co-working space. Where do you do your best focused work? Where do you best collaborate with others? And during meetings, how do you like interacting? How can you make your best contributions? Do you prefer to speak up at the end? Do you want to send a message on Slack? Do you want to not say anything, but then absorb it all and maybe do a debrief for the team via email or something? So thinking about those areas will really help you figure out, what are your strengths? How do you best work? What do you want to do? Where are your skills at now? What do you want to develop? And I really, really encourage you to take this next step and use my guide to reflect further on this and figure out some of those answers for yourself and just see where that takes you and see how that translates into a short statement of, hey, this is who I am as a professional. This is what I want to do. And does it help you find more clarity for your next step in your data career? And I know this was rapid fire. So if you want more help along the way, I invite you to send me a message. You'll see the URL for my website up on the screen. And I know that Brandy is going to include it also in the follow-up messages, and she's posted the link as well. And we've got a minute left for questions. Are there any that Brandy or Dustin that you want to bring up for me to answer live?
So, Brandy, I think there was quite a few that you starred as Eva was talking about. Thank you so much, Eva, for that keynote. Lots and lots of discussion in the chat. Brandy, were there any that you saw in particular that you wanted? Is there maybe one you want to pull out? Oh, you're muted. We can't. Yep, there you go.
Sorry, I just unmuted myself. Yeah. I think that maybe the first question, it'll give you a bit of a softball. Can we get the slides that you just shared?
If people want the slides, they can have the slides. Yes, I will turn them around for you guys and share them so you can put them in the follow-ups. Yeah. And maybe just to clarify again, if people missed it, the ebook, again, it is free and it's just a deeper dive. So it's a document that's, quite a simple document, 15 pages, but it's a lot of just questions and bullet points to help people navigate through these. So it goes into more of the talking track that I had rather than the imagery and high-level questions. So I would say use them together.
Got it. Great. Thank you. Let's see. I think another question that is really kind of great is, can you do freelancing with skills in Tableau? Like, where does freelancing fit in terms of, your ideal kind of workspace, and maybe to kind of pair that with the skills that you have?
I'll be a bit cheeky here. So I think that everyone who, starts a new job or is looking for a job should try, depending on where they're at in their career. And, if you're right at the beginning, you might not have the skills to credibly show up yet on your own as a freelancer in addition to your job. But if you are at a point where you're like, I could do something on the side, ask for this to be in your work contract, that you are allowed to do something on the side. Now, it will always require special permission, and you should get that in writing. But as long as it's not in competition with your job, like you're doing something that competes for customers, for example, you will probably find that companies are open to it. They know they need to foster their talent. And it's a great way to, scratch that itch that you might have to see, what can I do on my own, and get some of those projects that you might not get through work. So I think if you can do something on the side, it's also what I did in the past. And I loved it because it gave me a completely new field to explore. And a lot of companies have policies in place, or they can put them in place so that you are allowed to do a certain number of hours, for example, that would not impact your capability to deliver your main job, but that you can do on the side. In terms of doing it freelance, there are platforms where you can kind of hire yourself out to people where they post projects, and you can say, yeah, I would like to put a bid in, and I could deliver this project. I imagine that, again, building your profile and being able to be recommended through word of mouth and maybe LinkedIn recommendations and introductions is probably the best way to go, because then you're not an anonymous bidder in a big sea of lots of fish bidding on a project, but rather somebody says, hey, I know this guy, I know this woman, they're great, they're really good at this job, they will deliver this project for you. It's how I operate as well. So sometimes people come to me and they're like, do you know somebody who can help us with this dashboard building? And it's not me. That's not where my best skills are. So I will then refer to people who I know have made it their business to do that. So I will introduce them.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much. I know that there's so many other questions that people asked, but we also have to get to our next panel discussion. But Eva, thank you so much for your time. It was absolutely phenomenal.
Yes,
thanks for having me. I'll jump over on the chat on YouTube and see if I can answer some questions. Thank you.
Dozens, if not hundreds, of questions waiting for you here. So I'm sure folks will love talking with you. Yes, thank you very much. That was amazing. Thank you, Eva.